Hello and welcome to Plenty Training's webinar on how to complete the application form for the RCC and RPL process for the TAE 40116 Certificate 4 in Training and Assessment. Now, this form can be downloaded from our website at www.plenty.edu.au. Now, this is a PDF form. And what you want to do is save it onto your desktop, and that allows you to use the editing features in this form. If you leave the form embedded on the web page, you won't be able to save your responses in it. Now, this form is designed for those people who possess the superseded TAE 40110 and are looking to upgrade to the TAE 40116. Now, unfortunately, the powers that be have changed the structure of the Cert 4, and the 40116 replaces the 40110, but they are not equivalent. Now, the reason for that is that the new TAE 40116 has 9 core units and 1 elective, whereas the old TAE 40110 had 7 core units plus 3 electives. Now, the other aspect that affects the RPL and RCC process here is that 2 of the core units have been superseded but are not equivalent, and that's the TAE ASS 401 Plan Assessment Activities and Processes and TAE ASS 403 Participate in Assessment Validation. Now, for those 2 units, you'll see that this little table, which is a summary of the equivalence between the 10 units, you can see that gaps exist between the new ASS 403 and the superseded ASS 403B, and there's a gap between the new ASS 401 and the old ASS 401B. Now, the only other 2 changes are because we now have 9 core units. The ASS 502 Design and Development Assessment Tools, that was an elective unit under the TAE 40110. It's now a core unit. And the other one is TAE LLN 411, Address Adult LLN Skills. The 2 units are equivalent. So the unit that was superseded, TAE LLN 401A, they are equivalent. So if you have that unit, then that makes it very straightforward. Now, at the bottom, you can see that if you follow a standard process, this RPL kit costs just $599 if you don't need any gap training. If you do need some gap training, that'll be highlighted on the next page, and we give you costs for that, what that would be. Now, here we come to the actual eligibility assessment form. Now, this form is basically allowing you to determine what is the best options for you to get the 40116 based upon possessing the TAE 40110. Now, at the top of the form, fill out your name and your telephone number. We also ask for your email address and the year that you attained the TAE 40110. Now, this is an important field. Are you a former Plenty Training student? So in other words, if you obtained your TAE 40110, we want to know whether you obtained it from us. Now, the reason for this is that we were aware of the changes happening to the TAE 40116 units well ahead of the actual change date. So we actually incorporated some evidence collection into ASS 401 and ASS 403, which means that you will not need gap training, most likely. So you need to flag that to us whether you are a former Plenty Training student who obtained your 40110, and if so, your life is probably going to be a little bit easier to get through this RPL and RCC process. Now, the first section of this form is an entry prerequisite. Now, whereas the TAE 40110 had no prerequisites, the 40116 requires that you have vocational competency in your proposed teaching and assessing area. Now, what that means is if you're let's say you intend to teach welding, then you need to have welding competencies, welding vocational competencies. Now, that means to have that competency, you may already have a a testament, a qualification in that field, or you may just be experienced, an experienced teacher in your subject area. But you do need to have a vocational competency, so you need to check that box. If you don't have a vocational competency, you cannot apply for the 40116. Now, this pathway is solely aimed at those who have the TAE40110. So we need you to confirm that you do indeed possess it. And we also need a copy, not just of the actual certification, the testament, we also need a copy of the transcript or the records of results, which show each unit that was awarded under that TAE40110. So you must check that box as well. Okay, and here we're getting into the nitty-gritty. Now, the idea here is that for this unit, ASS 401, you must choose one option only. Okay, and the options are, firstly, you might already have the TAE ASS 401. Now, it's important to remember that this is not equivalent to the TAE ASS 401A or the TAE ASS 401B. Okay, so if you've only got the A or the B version, then you cannot check this box. You must have the TAE ASS 401, no letter following. If you don't, then you've got two options. You can either apply for RPL for this unit, and we're talking about RPL of the gaps only, of course. Because you've got the TAE 40110, we know that TAE ASS 401A or B is on your transcript, okay, because it was a core unit for that superseded qualification. So we need to RPL you for the gaps in the new version of this unit. And they're pretty small gaps, they're pretty easy. You must be able to answer a couple of questions to show that you can identify modification and contextual requirements in the VET context. And that you can provide evidence of having planned and organised the assessment process on at least 5 separate occasions, including 2 RPL assessments. Okay, so that's the gap evidence that needs to be covered in the RPL. And if you can, if you're able to provide evidence of those 2 gaps, then you'll be fine for RPL. However, if you can't, then what you can do is attend a half-day RPL gap training workshop on this unit, and we'll guide you through the process on how to get all of that covered. Now, you'll see that we've got asterisks next to some of these options. The asterisk means basically that the $599 course fee, that asterisk item is included in the $599 course fee. However, if you require gap training, then there's a small additional fee. And you can see that in the case of ASS 401, there's an extra $295 to attend that half-day virtual class. Now, these virtual classes are live and interactive webinars that you can attend from anywhere in the country or indeed the world. It's like a normal classroom, but obviously it's in a virtual setting, but you're able to virtually raise your hand and ask questions and interact with your trainer. So that's quite a good value feature. Moving on to the next unit. So you'll remember that this is the second core unit that had gaps. So in other words, ASS 403 supersedes ASS 403 A and B, but they're not equivalent. Now, similar to the last unit, you've got 3 options. The first option is, well, you may actually have that unit, ASS 403. And if so, that's fine. But remember, ASS 403A or TAE ASS 403B is not sufficient. Those units are not equivalent to ASS 403 because there are some new gaps. So if you don't possess that unit, then you have 2 options. In the first case, you can apply for RPL for ASS 403. And again, we're only RPLing the gap evidence items between ASS 403 and the superseded ASS 403B. Now, those gaps that you need to understand the requirements for, and you need to have participated in the validation of at least three sessions. So you have to have undertaken 3 assessment tool validation sessions. And secondly, you need to know what is a well-constructed assessment tool. And our RPL kit gives you guidance for this. and it gives you pointers to the various ASQA guidance material that defines what a well-constructed assessment tool is. So again, it's a fairly straightforward RPL option, and of course that's included in the course fee for this RCC RPL process. However, if you're not comfortable that you've got the background to get through RPL for covering these items, then what you can do again is attend a half-day live and interactive webinar to cover those gaps in ASS 403, and again there's an additional fee of $295 if you choose to use that option. Now, ASS 502, you may recall, this is the unit. It was an elective under the TAE 40110, but it's now a core unit under the TAE 40116. Now, there's 4 options here. You might possess already either the ASS 502 or the superseded ASS 502A or the superseded ASS 502B, right? So you can have either one of those 3 units and you satisfy that requirement. And the reason for that is because ASS 502 superseded but was equivalent to ASS 502A and B. Okay, so if you possess one of those 3 units, then that's all you need to do. You select that box. If you don't, however, then you've got 3 options. You can either apply for RPL for the unit, for which an additional $295 applies, and RPL basically covers the entire unit where you need to design and develop several assessment tools. Or you can attend a half-day virtual class webinar for $295, or you can attend one of our live face-to-face classes that are delivered in most capital cities across Australia, and for that one-day training day, there's an extra charge of $345. And now we have the last unit. Again, this unit was an option under the old TAE 40110. It was an elective unit. Under the 40116, however, it's a core unit. So again, you've got 4 options. The first one is you might possess the new or the superseded unit, in which case you would select this box. Okay, and the reason why it can be either unit is because TAE LN 411 superseded but was deemed equivalent to TAE LLN 401. So if that's the case and you have one of these 2 units already, in other words it's listed on your testimonial or in your statement of attainment, then you select that box. Now, if you do not possess those units, then you have 3 options, as similar to how we looked at that before. So the first one is you can apply for RPL for the entire unit, for which there's an additional fee of $295. Or you can attend a half-day live and interactive virtual class, a live webinar, which costs an additional $295. Or if you are one of the people who prefer face-to-face training, then you can attend one of our face-to-face classes. That runs over a full day, again in most capital cities throughout Australia. And for that, there's an extra $345. Okay, so that covers the academic requirements for the RPL RCC, and there's just one final item, which is your experience and PD. You need to provide have access to a former employer or supervisor who can attest, who will sign a third-party declaration, which we provide, that can attest to your professional experience as a trainer and assessor. Okay, so basically we're looking to see that you have currency in these skills. And secondly, you have to check this box to say that you have maintained your PD, your professional development, since the award of your TAE 40110. And we give a few examples here, such as ongoing employment, attendance at conferences or seminars, research, newsletters, etc. So in other words, you can't have just remained static in your professional knowledge. You have to have undergone PD in the last couple of years. This note, that's just reinforcing what we talked about before, that assessment of all these items that are asterisked are included in the $599 course fee. And then finally, we need you to sign. You can either sign on paper or you can use your digital signature using Adobe's digital signature feature. certifying that everything you've said here is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge, and that you apply for preliminary assessment and enrolment at this time. Date it, save the document, and email it back to us. And the email address is here, enrolments@plenty.edu.au. And we'll get back to you, if not the same day, certainly the next day. We don't need any supporting evidence at this stage. This form is basically a checklist to see whether you're eligible for this particular pathway. And if you're not for some reason, then we certainly have a number of pathways available to get you over the line for the new TAE40116. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Our contact details are here at the bottom of the cover page. We have a telephone number here, and if you use that same email address, enrolments@plenty.edu.au, one of our friendly staff will get back to you within a day. Thanks for reviewing this webinar, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us.